The Magician's Nephew, The Chronicles of Narnia 6 by C.S. Lewis. Uncle Andrew's Delusions. Uncle Andrew's Delusions. Uncle Andrew reclined in his shadow-draped study, the air heavy with the musk of leather-bound tomes and the sharp tang of brandy. A solitary glass, half-drained, rested in his grasp, reflecting the sporadic dance of the hearth's flames. He was a gaunt silhouette against the dim backdrop, his features honed to an almost predatory sharpness, and a beard that tapered to a fine point. The firelight cast a conspiratorial glow in his eyes, betraying a flicker of cunning rather than warmth. "Behold the visage of allure and arcane mastery," he whispered to the shadows, the brandy warming his throat as he savored a sip. Not merely a man, but a sorcerer of considerable charm. Ensnared by self-admiration and the heady fumes of alcohol, Uncle Andrew's mind wove grandiose tapestries of illusion. He envisioned Jadis, the formidable and stunning Queen of Narnia, succumbing to an infatuation with him. In his distorted reverie, he was no mere mortal, but a wizard of immense power, destined to ensnare the affections of a sovereign witch. With such enchanting features and mystical prowess, resistance is futile, he mused with a self-satisfied chuckle. I, Andrew Ketterly, shall be the architect of Jadis's capitulation, the sovereign of her heart. Oblivious to the impending collision of his fantasies with a stark reality, Uncle Andrew reveled in his imagined conquests. It was amidst this indulgence that his nephew, Diggory, stepped into the study, his gaze alight with a blend of wonder and concern. He had caught fragments of his uncle's soliloquy and was both intrigued and perturbed by the spectacle. "Uncle Andrew," Diggory ventured, his tone laced with caution. The boy's voice, hesitant and laced with uncertainty, broke through the haze of Uncle Andrew's reverie. "Pray tell, uncle, to whom do you speak so passionately? And who is this Jadis you mentioned?" Uncle Andrew, startled by Diggory's intrusion, momentarily forgot his fantastical musings. "Ah, Diggory, my dear boy," he replied, straightening in his chair and setting his glass aside. "I was merely pondering aloud. You see, I have stumbled upon a realm beyond the ordinary, and within it, there exists a sorceress of unparalleled might, Jadis." Diggory's eyes, wide with a mixture of fascination and disbelief, fixed upon his uncle. "A sorceress, uncle? Pray, elaborate. Have you truly encountered such a being?" "Indeed, my boy," Uncle Andrew boasted, his voice rich with exaggerated confidence. "Not merely encountered, but communed with the Queen of Narnia herself. For I am more than a mere scholar of languages, Diggory. I am a practitioner of the arcane arts, capable of traversing realms and bending them to my will." The skepticism on Diggory's face mirrored the doubt in his voice. "But uncle, I was under the impression you were a professor of languages. When did you become versed in sorcery?" Uncle Andrew waved away the question with a dismissive flick of his hand. "Titles, my boy, are but trifles. Magic courses through my veins, and I have unlocked its secrets through diligent study and experimentation. Mark my words, with my knowledge, I shall bring Jadis to our world and reveal to her the true essence of power and adoration." "But, uncle," Diggory attempted to interject, his expression betraying a mix of confusion and concern. "Nay, my boy, hear me out," Uncle Andrew interrupted, his eyes sparkling with a feverish intensity. "Great events are poised to unfold. Destiny has marked us, Diggory. Mark my words, Jadis and I are fated for a union that will echo through the ages." Diggory could only shake his head, uncertain whether to find amusement or worry in his uncle's extravagant claims. Yet, unbeknownst to them both, the threads of fantasy and reality were about to intertwine in ways that would forever alter their lives, and the true extent of Uncle Andrew's fantasies would soon be laid bare. The Accidental Adventurers. The Accidental Adventurers. Diggory and Polly stood in the attic, surrounded by relics of the past that whispered of untold stories. "Are you sure about this, Diggory?" Polly's voice quivered as she gazed at the rings that promised otherworldly journeys. "We must," Diggory affirmed, his resolve fueled by a desperate hope to aid his ailing mother. Grasping the yellow ring, they spoke the incantation, and a whirlwind of sensations enveloped them. Darkness gave way to a blur of shapes, and suddenly they felt solid ground beneath them. The world snapped into focus, revealing the verdant splendor of Narnia. In this new realm, they were greeted not by a squirrel but by a marshwiggle named Puddleglum, his lanky form and somber demeanor a stark contrast to the vibrant forest. "Welcome to Narnia," he intoned, his voice resonating with the depth of the land's mysteries. A world sung into existence by Aslan, the great lion. Guided by Puddleglum, they encountered Narnia's denizens, each encounter a testament to the land's diversity and the anticipation of their arrival. Yet, as they delved deeper, Diggory's heart weighed heavy with remorse. "It's my doing," he confessed to Polly. "The White Witch's presence here is because of me." Polly's grip tightened reassuringly. "We'll set things right," she promised. Their quest led them to a sunlit clearing where Aslan awaited, his presence a tapestry of strength and gentleness. Aslan's gaze, imbued with wisdom and understanding, fell upon them. "You have been chosen," he declared, his voice a harmonious blend of authority and warmth. "To restore Narnia, you must retrieve the magic apple." The gravity of their mission was clear, yet Aslan's confidence in them ignited a spark of hope. With each challenge they faced, Diggory and Polly's bond deepened, and their determination never wavered. Finally they returned to the clearing, triumph in their grasp, the singular apple shining in their hands, a symbol of their unwavering courage and the dawn of Narnia's renewal. Aslan's arrival. Aslan's arrival. The air of Narnia was still, as if holding its breath for the arrival of someone majestic. Diggory and Polly stood among the creatures, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Suddenly a golden light pierced the horizon, and with a gentle roar that echoed like a melody, Aslan, the great lion, stepped into the world. Aslan's mane flowed like a river of sunlight, and his eyes sparkled with the wisdom of the ages. The creatures of Narnia, who had never before spoken, found words tumbling from their mouths in joyous wonder. "Aslan," they cried, and the name was a song that filled the air. "Welcome, Aslan," said King Frank, bowing deeply. Queen Helen curtsied, her eyes wide with reverence. "We are honored by your presence." Aslan nodded, his gaze sweeping over the land. "Rise, King Frank, Queen Helen. Today Narnia awakens to a new dawn." He turned to the moles who had unearthed a treasure of precious stones. "Well done, little diggers. Your find shall crown the rulers of this land." And so, 2 crowns were forged, one of rubies and one of emeralds, and placed upon the heads of the king and queen. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Aslan raised a paw for silence. "There is more to be done," he said. "Behold the tree of protection." A tree, tall and radiant, stood bearing silver apples. "This tree shall guard Narnia against the witch, but it needs a guardian." All eyes turned to Diggory. "Me, Aslan?" "Yes, you," Aslan affirmed. "Now, I entrust you with the responsibility of sowing the seed of the future tree. It shall grow strong and protect Narnia from the witch's dark magic." Diggory took a silver apple from the tree of protection. "What do I do, Aslan?" he asked. "Throw the apple towards the riverbank," Aslan instructed, "and trust that it will take root." Diggory hurled the apple across the water. It landed with a splash, and instantly a sprout burst forth from the ground. Aslan smiled. Well done, Diggory. You have begun a new chapter in Narnia's history. The creatures cheered, and King Frank and Queen Helen approached Aslan, their faces aglow. Aslan turned to Uncle Andrew. Your misguided actions have led to this moment, but I offer you redemption. Sleep peacefully, and when you awaken, may your heart be lighter. Uncle Andrew slumped to the ground, freed from his torment. Aslan turned to Diggory and Polly. Now, we must discuss the plan to protect Narnia from the witch's return. A mother's hope. Diggory's mother lay in bed, her face pale but peaceful. Diggory, holding a peculiar fruit, remembered the words spoken to him: to heal, to restore, to make whole again. He whispered to his mother, offering the fruit. It's from Narnia. It can heal you. She looked at him with a mix of confusion and hope. Narnia? Is that real? Yes, Mom, it's real. Please, trust me. She took the fruit from his hand, examining it before taking a small bite. A subtle change came over her. Her face gained color, her eyes brightened. She took another bite, and her body relaxed. Diggory watched, tears of gratitude in his eyes, as his mother drifted into a peaceful sleep, a smile on her face. Holding her hand, he felt a renewed sense of hope. The temptation. Diggory stood before the tree, its branches heavy with golden apples that glowed in the soft light of the garden. The air was sweet with their scent, and it seemed to Diggory that he had never seen anything so beautiful or so desirable. Go on, boy, whispered the witch, her voice smooth as silk. Take an apple. It will make you live forever. It will make you strong and powerful. Like a king? Diggory's hand trembled as he reached out, the fruit's radiance calling to him, promising wonders beyond his wildest dreams. But then he remembered Aslan's deep, rich voice, full of authority and kindness. You must not eat the apple. Bring it to me, Aslan had said. Polly, who had been silent all this while, finally spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. Diggory, remember your mother. Remember what Aslan told us. The witch laughed, a cold, cruel sound. Your mother? What does she matter? Think of yourself. This is your chance for greatness. But Diggory shook his head, stepping back from the tree. No, he said firmly. I promised Aslan. I'm going to keep my promise. The witch's face twisted with rage, and she raised her hand as if to strike him. But at that moment, Fledge, the noble winged horse, swooped down from the sky. Quickly! Diggory, jump on! Fledge called out, his voice urgent against the growing tumult of the witch's fury. Diggory leapt onto Fledge's back, and with Polly clinging tightly behind him, they soared up into the sky, leaving the witch's screams far below. As they flew, the garden and its temptations became a distant memory, replaced by the clear, bright sky and the path ahead. Diggory's heart was light. He had made his choice, and it was the right one. To Aslan, he said, and Fledge galloped through the clouds, carrying them back to the lion, and to the hope of saving his mother. The healing. The healing. Diggory stood by his mother's bedside, the soft glow of the magic apple illuminating the room. Mother, he whispered. Aslan said this would make you well again. His mother, her curiosity piqued by the radiant fruit, smiled faintly. Magic, she murmured, a hint of disbelief in her voice. It sounds like one of your stories, Diggory. He watched, his heart full of hope, as his mother held the apple close, its light reflecting in her eyes. But it's true, he said gently. The room was filled with a sweet scent, reminiscent of blooming flowers, and a sense of peace settled over them. His mother's laughter, clear and joyful, echoed in the room, a sound Diggory hadn't heard in so long. As the night progressed, the family gathered, marveling at the miraculous recovery. The doctor, baffled by the sudden change, could only describe it as a wonder. Diggory's mother, now free from pain, shared stories of her dreams, vivid tales of a land filled with talking animals and majestic landscapes, a place she felt she had visited in her sleep. In the quiet moments that followed, Diggory reflected on the journey that had led them here. He thought of the lessons learned and the courage found. The healing of his mother was more than a physical cure. It was a restoration of hope and joy to their home. It was a testament to the power of faith and the magic that had woven itself into their lives. The family sat together, sharing in the warmth of the moment, their hearts lighter than they had been in months. Diggory's father, a man of few words, placed a hand on his shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had all undertaken. The apple, now just a core, seemed to pulse with a life of its own, a beacon of the adventure and the love that had brought them to this point. As the dawn broke, the family knew that their lives had been forever changed, and they stepped into the new day with a sense of wonder and a belief in the impossible. The Wardrobe's Secret. The Wardrobe's Secret. As Diggory grew older, he became a renowned scholar and a professor. His adventures in Narnia with Polly were etched in his memory. A great storm one day felled a tree on his estate, the very tree that sprouted from the apple seed he brought from Narnia. Rather than reducing it to firewood, Diggory fashioned it into a wardrobe. Decades had passed, and the wardrobe now stood in Diggory's stately home. It was more than mere furniture. It was a gateway holding a secret known to few. The wood, imbued with Narnian magic, had become a portal between worlds. "Imagine, Polly," Diggory mused, "a doorway to Narnia in my house." Polly, wide-eyed, pondered if it still functioned. With a shared smile, they ventured to the wardrobe, opened its doors, and were greeted by a familiar apple scent. Stepping inside, they were instantly transported to Narnia. The land was as enchanting as ever, but now a new presence stirred in the forest. A creature of light, with eyes that held the depth of the stars, approached them. It was the guardian of the woods, a being born from the same magic that protected Narnia, tasked with safeguarding the balance of this world. As they conversed with the guardian, they learned of the Tree of Protection's enduring legacy, shielding Narnia from darkness. The Tree of Protection's enduring legacy, shielding Narnia from darkness, was a testament to the power of good over evil. The Guardian explained that the tree's magic was so potent that it extended beyond the borders of Narnia, influencing the very fabric of the worlds it connected. This explained the wardrobe's ability to serve as a portal. It was not just a remnant of a magical tree, but an active participant in Narnia's defense. Diggory and Polly listened intently, realizing that their return to Narnia was no mere chance. It was the magic of the wardrobe, calling them back to ensure that the bond between the two worlds remained strong. The Guardian, sensing their understanding, bestowed upon them a new task, to be the wardens of the passage, ensuring that it would only be used when the need was greatest. As they accepted this new role, they felt a sense of purpose they hadn't known before. Their connection to Narnia was not just a memory of childhood adventures. It was a lifelong commitment to the land they had helped to save. With hearts full of newfound responsibility and the Guardian's words echoing in their minds, Diggory and Polly stepped back through the wardrobe, the doors closing behind them with a soft thud. They were back in their own world, but now with a secret mission that would be Uncle Andrew's redemption. Uncle Andrew sat alone in his dimly lit study, the weight of his past actions pressing heavily upon him. The room, once filled with the intoxicating promise of magic and power, now seemed to close in on him, a prison of his own making. Earlier in the chapter, it was revealed that these magical rings, now scattered and dim on the table, were the conduits through which he had once sought to bend reality to his will, their current lifelessness mirroring his own faded dreams. A soft knock from outside the door broke the silence. "Uncle Andrew?" Diggory's voice called tentatively from the hallway. With a sigh, Uncle Andrew rose to open the door, bracing himself for the disappointment he expected to see in his nephew's eyes. "Diggory, my boy," Uncle Andrew began, his voice barely above a whisper. I've been a fool, haven't I? Diggory stepped into the room, his gaze not unkind. We all make mistakes, Uncle, but it's what we do after that counts. Uncle Andrew nodded, the corners of his mouth twitching in a semblance of a smile. I suppose you're right. I've been thinking, Diggory, about everything that's happened, about the witch, and about how I've treated everyone. Polly, who followed Diggory, spoke up. It's never too late to change, Mr. Ketterly. We've seen it with our own eyes in Narnia. Things can grow and heal. Yes, heal, Uncle Andrew repeated, as if tasting the word for the first time. I think I've finally understood, Diggory. I've been so caught up in my own desires, my own vanity. I never stopped to consider the harm I might cause. Diggory's expression softened. We all have our flaws, Uncle. But it takes courage to admit them, and even more to act on that realization. Uncle Andrew's eyes dropped, shamefaced. I'm not sure I deserve forgiveness, Diggory. Not after what I've done. Polly stepped forward, her voice gentle. Forgiveness isn't just about deserving it, Mr. Ketterly. It's about being willing to change and make amends. The silence that followed was heavy with emotion. Uncle Andrew's gaze wandered around the room, taking in the scattered papers, the broken clockwork machines, and the remnants of his failed experiments. He saw, too, the faces of those he had hurt. Aunt Letty, Dolly, Polly. In that moment, a spark of resolve ignited within Uncle Andrew. It was as if Aslan's offer of redemption had finally reached the depths of his heart. I want to try, Uncle Andrew said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. I want to make things right. Diggory's face lit up with a warm smile. Then let's start, Uncle. Together. With A. Lessons learned. Diggory couldn't believe their adventure was finally over. As he and Polly sat in the attic reflecting on their extraordinary journey, he felt a mix of emotions. Polly, I can't believe we did it, Diggory said, his eyes shining with a mixture of wonder and relief. We went to another world, met a powerful lion, and even faced a wicked witch. It's like something out of a dream. Polly smiled at him, her eyes reflecting the same sense of awe. It's been an incredible journey, Diggory. I'll never forget it. You know, I've been thinking about everything that happened, Diggory continued. Standing up to Jadis wasn't easy, but I knew it was the right thing to do. You did the right thing, Diggory, Polly said, her voice full of conviction. Diggory smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. Being in Narnia made me understand that my actions have consequences. That's true, Polly agreed, and I think it's made you more mature and thoughtful. You know, Polly, I want to thank you, Diggory said. Your caution and level-headedness balanced out my impulsiveness. I think we made a pretty good team. Polly beamed at him. We did, didn't we? And I learned a lot from you too, Diggory. You taught me that sometimes it's okay to take risks and step out of my comfort zone. Diggory felt a sense of peace as he realized how much he had gained from their journey. Our friendship has definitely made me a braver person, he said. Polly squeezed his hand, her smile warm and encouraging. And I've learned that bravery isn't just about bold actions. It's also about making the right choices. As they sat in the attic, surrounded by the remnants of their adventure, Diggory felt a sense of closure. He knew that he would never forget his journey to Narnia and the incredible experiences he had had. But he also knew that it was time to move on, to apply the lessons he had learned to his everyday life. You know, Polly, Diggory said, standing up and stretching, I think it's time for us to get back to our normal lives. But the memories of this adventure will always be a part of us. Polly stood up too, her expression one of agreement. Yes, Diggory, and we'll carry those memories and lessons with us always. A new beginning. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the countryside as Diggory and Polly sat on the grassy hill behind the big house. "Look at it, Polly," Diggory said, gesturing towards the horizon. "It's like the sky is on fire." Polly nodded, her eyes reflecting the fiery hues. "I keep thinking about the talking beasts in the forests. Do you think they're doing all right without us?" "I'm sure they are," Diggory replied. They fell into a comfortable silence, each lost in memories of their adventure. It was Polly who broke the silence with a sigh. "We could help people just like we did there," she said. Diggory turned to her, his expression serious. "We could, and maybe we will one day. But for now, we have a responsibility here. To your family and mine, and to the friends we've yet to meet." Polly's eyes sparkled with understanding. "We must be guardians, not just adventurers." The two friends stood up, brushing the grass from their clothes. As they walked back to the house, the last rays of the sun dipped below the hills, and the first stars began to twinkle in the twilight sky. "We'll make a pact," Diggory suggested. "To only act if it's truly necessary for the good of others, and never for selfish reasons." Polly extended her hand and they shook on it. "It's a promise," she said firmly. As they reached the door, they paused, their eyes falling on the tall, silent wardrobe in the corner of the room. "Our world needs us," Diggory said softly, his voice filled with determination. "Together we'll make it a better place." Polly nodded, her gaze unwavering. "Yes, together," she added, her voice steady. With that unspoken agreement hanging between them, they stepped into the house, their hearts steady, knowing that their adventures had prepared them for whatever challenges lay ahead.